So now there's a few more things that we need to do. So for example, if I click up here on my logo, I notice that it says APDiv1. Now when we start to get to messing around with our cascading style sheets, and let's just say that this site has 100 of these APDivs, there is no way in the world that we're going to be able to remember that APDiv number 57 is referring to some paragraph location on this site. So one thing that we can do is we can rename our APDivs, which makes it a little bit easier for us to manage. There's a couple of methods to do this. The first method is just go in here and manually type in what you want it to be. The second method is to use pre-made tags, and I always recommend using the pre-made tags, and the reason why is again is to optimize the ability for search engines to find your site. So in this example here, we don't exactly have a pre-made APDiv tag for something called a logo. So we're going to use method 1 for this, and I'm going to just call this logo. And then click off in the space somewhere. And it should change that to logo. So now that APDiv tag is named logo. If I go to the navigation area, I notice now it says APDiv2. And there is actually a pre-made APDiv tag for navigation. So over here where it says div pound APDiv2, and I'm going to go back to split view now so we can see what it is exactly highlighting. I'm going to right click on this and go to quick tag editor. And I'm just going to delete out all of this stuff. I'm going to bracket and call it N. And as soon as I type in N, we notice here our code hinter hints to us something that's in the N region that we're looking for. If I type in A now, and I type in V, we can see that our code hinter hints to us this is probably what we're looking for, the nav code. So if I double click on that, and then add the N bracket, and then click off somewhere in the gray space, it goes ahead and it changes that to the nav tag. So in our code we see nav, and there's nothing in between, and then a bracket / nav. So now we need to go over here to our CSS styles, and we need to go to all and expand out our current styles. And the one that we're wanting to change is the one for our APDiv2. Remember, we renamed it nav. So we actually need to change this pound APDiv2 to also say nav. So I'm just going to type in NAV and then click off somewhere. So now we have our logo and we have our nav, and there's our nav panel. So when we edited the quick tag editor, we may have noticed that our nav area just kind of disappeared off somewhere in La La Land, who knows where. So what we actually need to do while we still have it selected, and of course we can't see that it's selected, was go into our CSS styles and rename that pound APDiv tag to nav. So what I did was I went to styles, I clicked on all, and the current styles that are set for this page is in this styles thing. You have to actually expand it, and then go into the APNav2. Remember that this was named before APNav2, and then rename that cascading styles sheet to nav, and that way you could apply that nav style to this navigation area. So now I'm going to click on my header, and I need to do the exact same thing with my header. So I'm going to right click here. There's actually a pre-made tag called header. I'm going to backspace all of this out, put in a bracket, type in header, and I can see there's already a pre-made one there. Add the N bracket, click off somewhere in gray space, and then while this is still selected, go over here to APDiv3, which is what this is, and type in header, and then click off somewhere, and that way it applies that header style to that header. And then APDiv4 on this site happens to be my paragraph box, but Dreamweaver doesn't call it paragraph, it calls it something totally different. It calls it section. So I'm going to backspace out all this stuff and type in section, then click off somewhere in the gray space, and we see this huge mess in here. But over here where it says APDiv, I'm going to rename that to section, and then click off somewhere, and everything is recontained where it belongs. And the reason why that we do this, again, in case you're wondering why we go through the trouble of doing this, is because these names here are much more easier for us to find. We know what nav corresponds to the navigation area, header responds to this header, corresponds to the header, and section corresponds to this paragraph body. Otherwise, we'll have 100 of these APDivs, and who knows what it belongs to. And you know, there's already pre-made div tags for these, so why not take advantage of them? So I'm going to go ahead and save this.